Today in the EU, von der Leyen launches new EU Commission with surprising picks. Commission President Ursula von der Leyen unveiled her proposed team of European commissioners, highlighting significant leadership changes. 6 executive vice presidents, including Finland's Hanna Virkkunen and Italy's Raffaele Fitto, will oversee key policy areas. Von der Leyen emphasized gender parity, increasing female representation to 40%. But who are the new names? What are the newly created roles? And what happens if the team fails to achieve parliamentary confirmation before taking office? Hello and welcome. I am Evi Kiorri and this is Today in the EU. To break this all down and what it means for the new College of Commissioners and their portfolios, I'm joined by our politics reporter, Nicoletta Ionta. Hi Nico, welcome back on the podcast.
Hello.
You're now in Strasbourg reporting on the plenary where Ursula von der Leyen introduced her new team of European commissioners. What were the key changes she presented?
So yesterday in Strasbourg, von der Leyen finally revealed her long-awaited team of commissioners. There was much uncertainty actually leading up to this announcement, especially because we have seen many delays and the announcement was delayed several times in the past week. But also even yesterday morning, we weren't really sure if that would happen. We didn't know what to expect. And also as she walked into the room of the press conference, we weren't really sure it was happening. So we were looking at each other being like, okay, this is really happening. Is it not? But the moment she confirmed that she will be presenting the names, you could feel that the entire room, everyone was so relieved and all the journalists were so relieved that she was presenting the names.
The very first step that we did is to define our core priorities, and they are built around prosperity, security, democracy. These are the overarching topics. And this all happens against a backdrop of competitiveness that we need, competitiveness for the twin transitions, the decarbonization and the digitalization of our economies. And this is one of the main recommendations of the Draghi report: more fluid, more intertwined, more coordination of the different policies.
As for the Commission, the whole Commission will be more in line with the new priorities. And von der Leyen also pointed out to the Draghi report as being this main driver for how the new Commission is structured and it's going to be structured. The topics to which she referred a lot are, of course, competitiveness, digitalization, and decarbonization, which will be the main focus for the Commission in this new mandate. As for the changes, as you said, there's definitely been a reshuffling of the portfolios. In fact, some are completely different from what we originally expected, I have to say. New portfolios were also created, such as the one assigned to Belgium's proposed commissioner, Hadja Labib, who will now oversee preparedness and crisis management, as well as equality. Then, of course, we're looking at a new complete kind of structure in terms of vice presidencies and executive vice presidencies, as vice presidents are no longer present.
Each executive vice president will also have a portfolio to focus on, for which they will have to work with other commissioners. So in simple words, what affects security also affects the economy. What affects climate or environment also affects people, and vice versa, the business community, and you can go on with that. This is also the reason why this time we do not have the extra layer of vice presidents. So we have a leaner structure and a more interactive and interlinked structure.
And we're looking at just the post of executive vice president, which are now double the number when compared to the past Commission.
And who are the 6 executive presidents and what areas will they oversee in the new Commission?
So we have quite some interesting names, and 4 of the vice presidencies are assigned to women. So let's start with them. We have the much rumored name of Teresa Ribera. We know we talked about her a lot She is the candidate that was proposed by Spain. She is from S&D. She was part of the Sanchez government, and she will be now overseeing the green and digital transition portfolio, on top, of course, being the executive vice president of the commission. And then, of course, we have Kaja Kallas, who was already selected last July to be EU's top diplomat. And of course, she will be dealing with issues regarding foreign affairs and security. And then the third executive vice presidency went to the Romanian candidate, Roxana Minzatu. She will be also in charge of the portfolio for people, skills, and preparedness. And then the fourth and last woman is the Finnish commissioner, Henna Virkkunen. Her portfolio will be related to tech, sovereignty, and democracy. And then we have the last two names that are the French commissioner and the Italian commissioner. As we know, there has been much drama regarding the nomination of the French commissioner, but I know you already covered that extensively. Just on Monday, we knew that Stéphane Séjourné will be nominated by France after the resignation of Thierry Breton, which was the current commissioner for France. And he publicly accused von der Leyen of offering better portfolios to countries that will withdraw the name that was proposed and propose a woman instead. He publicly accused von der Leyen on Twitter, and he posted his resignation letter. And then, of course, we have Raffaele Fitto, which is the Italian candidate. He comes from Meloni's party, Fratelli d'Italia. He's, of course, not certainly well received by every single party on the political spectrum because of that. We know that his nomination created quite some tensions, but this will be presented as a big win internally. And Giorgia Meloni would do so because even though her party didn't support von der Leyen, she ended up getting a very important role in this new commission, and no one was really expecting that. And that's why people will have much to say. It is also important to see that the former executive vice president from the last mandate got demoted. In fact, Slovakia Šenković and the Latvian commissioner Dombrovskis got demoted. They're not executive vice presidents. And then also Commissioner Suica, which was the commissioner for Croatia, and she got confirmed again in this commission. She used to be the vice president. Of course, we don't have vice presidents anymore, and she did not get the executive vice presidency. So she will be just in charge of the Mediterranean portfolio, and she will not play a higher role.
What are some of the newly created roles within the Commission, and why are they significant?
I mean, I think we can talk about priorities and responsibilities in some sense, as when we look at the names for the portfolios, they're approximately the same. I mean, we have seen some rephrasing. But as I mentioned before, the one assigned to Belgium's proposed commissioner is a new portfolio, which will be assigned, of course, by Hadja Labib. And we're talking about the portfolio that concerns preparedness and crisis management. She will also be in charge of equality. And then we have, as I mentioned before already, the Commissioner for the Mediterranean, which is a completely new role and is now assigned to Croatia's commissioner. And then we have the Commissioner for Housing, which is a new role. And this was something that the socialists really wanted, and they campaigned for it. And we ended up getting Commissioner for Housing in this new mandate.
So what steps must the nominated commissioner take before officially assuming their roles?
Every commissioner will now have to go through parliamentary grilling, and they will have to face tough hearings to be confirmed. First, though, to kind of take a step back and see the entire picture, the European Parliament Legal Affairs Committee will have to go through the personal declaration and the financial backgrounds of the commissioners, and then every single relevant committee. And when I talk about relevant committee, I am referring to the committee that is tied to the commissioner's portfolio, will draft written questions for the candidates, who of course will have to be questioned in front of the committee, and they will have to show their expertise, and in some ways they will have to prove themselves.
Once the European Parliament has received the official letter from the Council, and of course in agreement with the President of the Commission, then the Parliament may proceed with the formal proceedings for the nomination of the new college, always in accordance with the rules of procedure.
And then, of course, the parliament can reject the names if those hearings, they don't go well. This is something that happened before. The hearing process in 2019 led to the rejection of the candidates that were proposed by France, Romania, and Hungary. Personally, I think that the candidates that we will be following closely, because they're kind of at risk of having very, very harsh hearings, are for sure Raffaele Fitto from Fratelli d'Italia, which, as I said, is the Italian nominee. And then, of course, Haja Labib, because of her record as Foreign Affairs Minister. And then, of course, we also probably going to see the name of the Croatian commissioner and the Hungarian commissioner as well.
Now, you already mentioned that there are 4 women within the 6 executive vice presidents, and the topic of gender balance has been one that we've discussed extensively. So how does the gender balance of the proposed college compare to the previous one? And what challenges did von der Leyen face in achieving parity?
So this was one of the issues that allegedly delayed the entire process. In fact, initially only 4 women were proposed, but now we're looking at a college that includes 11 women. And if we're looking at shares, we're talking about 40% of the team, according also to what von der Leyen said during the press conference.
When I received the first nominations and I looked at the whole pattern and the whole tableau, we were at a point where we had a share of 22% women and 78% men. So you can imagine that this was completely unacceptable. So I worked intensively with the member states, and we were able to improve the share to 40% women and 60% men. And it shows that as much as we have achieved, there is still so much more work to do.
As we know, in the last weeks, von der Leyen requested some member states to withdraw their candidates and asked them to propose names of women. And of course, it all goes back to last July when von der Leyen demanded every single member state to put forward 2 names, a man and a woman. That didn't happen, and that's how we got here. Most notably, in the last weeks, we have seen Slovenia's nominee for European Commissioner, Thomas Vesel. He withdrew his candidacy, and then Slovenia put forward Marta Kos. She is going to be in charge of the enlargement portfolio, which is quite an important portfolio. Of course, von der Leyen really pushed for the gender balance of the Commission. And if we remember, just a couple of weeks ago, she said something like, if you don't ask for it, you don't get it. And that's what happened.
Mm-hmm. And what could happen if a commissioner nominee fails to gain the support of the European Parliament during the screening process?
That's something that we don't really want, because that means that the entire process will be slowed down. So the capitals will have to propose a different candidate, which will have to go through the screening again, and then we'll have to go through the hearings, and we'll have to reply to the question of the European Parliament. And then, of course, we'll have to wait for the confirmation of the entire Parliament. So we're looking at a completely different timeline, and we are now already in a different timeline from what we originally thought, and that would delay the entire process of swearing in and for the commissioner to be properly formed and being into the office.
Do you know when the screening is happening?
The screening will start to take place from mid-October, and the hearings will take place from mid-October onwards, probably November. We don't really know the exact timeline yet, but we will be talking when that happens, I guess.
For sure. Thank you very much, Nico. I am Evi Kiorri, and this was Today in the EU podcast. Visit Euractiv to stay on top of the latest news. If you haven't subscribed yet, you can find us on all streaming platforms. You can get in touch with us by leaving a comment or a review on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Your reviews help us a lot to spread the word about our work, but also understand what topics you like listening to. This episode was produced by Miriam Saenz de Tejada and me. Thank you for tuning in, and until tomorrow morning. As part of our commitment to accuracy, inclusion and transparency, Euractiv is part of the Trust Project.